Welcome to the Big Me Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Noon. It is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. Earlier today, we had the chance to talk with head coach Ryan Day. We will get into that here in a moment. As you've noticed, I am not at Big Me Kickoff Central. I am at the Panera on campus. Later this evening, I will be going to the NIT game to see Ohio State and Cornell. But I can't control everything that's going on behind me, but internet, parking, that's about as good as we're going to get. I want to thank our partners at No Naturals for being a participating sponsor as part of this event. We will talk about them here in a second. A couple things that I want to talk about in the show today. I want to talk about Ryan Day's comments in terms of Tony Alford. I want to talk about the search for a new running backs coach, maybe dive in a little bit about Chip Kelly, maybe a brief note or two on Ohio State Pro Day, and then round things out talking about Clemson filing suit against the Atlantic Coast Conference, joining Florida State in that whole mess. Didn't think I was going to be doing a show out in the field today, so I don't have my copy for No Naturals for the commercial, but I found it online, so bear with me as I don't have it on a sheet and I have it in a Word doc. Let me get to that. Are you ready for an entirely different edible experience? Welcome to No Naturals, where we're shattering the stereotype of one-note, slow-acting gummies. You're waiting over an hour to feel the effects. Our gummies are fast-acting, just 15 to 30 minutes. Picture this. You're not just choosing a flavor, you're choosing your vibe. With 5 core experiences and 6 custom combos, you're in full control. Whether it's energy and focus without the crash, a peaceful slumber that lasts all night, or a game-changing burst of bliss and euphoria, these edibles are the real deal. And the best part, you don't need a doctor's recommendation. No Natural gummies are dispensary quality and discreetly delivered right to your door. So whether you're craving a productivity boost, a good night's sleep, or some blissful euphoria, say hello to No Naturals. Try them today and use code HUDDLE10 for 10% off your order at shop.nonaturals.com. And then I don't have the last line on there. I'm not sure how I didn't make it on there. I believe it is something along the lines of know your edibles, know your experience, No Naturals. So check them out. I am a big fan of their products. I'll kind of leave it at that, but I enjoy the rest formula. To be able to get to sleep at night, overactive brain, not a great thing. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about Ryan Day's comments, and you can find those in their entirety here on this channel at youtube.com/BuckeyeHuddle or at BuckeyeHuddle.com. So check it out, but finish making it through the show before you go and do that. But we have the whole presser up there through the live version. By the time that this posts, I should almost have it also double posted so you can find it easily on our channel. But we had the chance to talk with Ryan for about 40 minutes today, give or take. And first question right out of the gate, and it was the right question. It was not a case of somebody looking to pounce or whatever. It was about, this is the first chance we've had to talk to Ryan Day since Tony Alford announced his move to the team up north. And Ohio State was on spring break, and it just kind of how the timing worked out. And one of the first things that we learned was that, Ohio State is not going to be in a huge rush to get somebody into that position for the sake of having a body there. Your interim running backs coach at Ohio State right now is one Ryan Day, and he seems to be having a good time in doing that. We saw how Chip Kelly realized how much he enjoyed being a quarterbacks coach when he lost his position coach while he was at UCLA. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm expecting Ryan Day to hang it up and say, I'm going to just be a position coach. But I think that once you go through all of this rigmarole as a head coach, being able to really focus on your X's and O's and things of that nature is a refreshing experience. That doesn't mean that Ryan Day can divorce himself out of the duties of being a head coach. It doesn't mean that he's going to be able to not fundraise, not recruit or whatever. All of that is still going to be there. This is not a case of him stepping away from his position and just being like, I am just the running backs coach, but he is taking over the running back responsibilities until they get a new body in there. So, the Tony Alford news, it's not like it was something that was necessarily percolating there for a long time. It was not like it was a case of it being something that they knew it was kind of going on, and it was just a matter of when it was going to pop. It made it sound like it was much more of a sudden thing that was thrown onto him at that point, and there you go. And with it being Michigan as the place that he ended up going, I'm not part of the team. I don't have to do push-ups for saying the M word. I don't think anybody here wants to see me attempt to do a bunch of push-ups. Definitely not in playing weight or playing shape right now. You get me a month or two working out with Mickey Marotti. Maybe that's going to be a little bit different, but that is not in the cards at the moment. So you've got that going on now. The question was brought up: did Tony Alford, is he walking away with Ohio State's playbook and all this new stuff that Chip Kelly is in the process of installing? And the answer is no. And first of all, I think there has to be a level of honor amongst coaches. And that's not to say that there hasn't been some chicanery that has gone on in the past in the profession. Let's not be naive or anything like that. But just for a sheer point of install, Ohio State had 2 practices before spring break. 2 practices. Chip Kelly has not gone in there and necessarily reinvented the wheel. Now, does this potentially maybe work against some of the work that Bill O'Brien did in his cup of coffee at Ohio State when he goes in and does a review from the top down? I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. But if you can't adjust from that, should you be coaching at the highest of levels if you cannot adapt and adopt and change from those types of things? And I think that you can still take that information and whatever Chip brings in and make changes. Now, I've joked about it in the past on this show that maybe once and for all, Ohio State will have to make legitimate changes to its play calls and things of that nature with the departure of Tony Alford. And truth be told, when it comes down to Tony Alford taking a new job, I mean, it would not be in his best interest and benefit not to take some of the things that he's learned about his opponent, what's now his opponent, to them. And that doesn't mean that he's going to be walking in with placards and everything else. It's more of a matter of, he knows personnel. He can kind of go through all that stuff. And I think, that's not out of bounds. I mean, I don't think that is off limits. I think there's something to that. Ohio State several years ago brings in Greg Madison, brings in Al Washington. I mean, neither are with the program anymore. Madison retired. Now Washington is at Notre Dame. But I think that there is going to be something there. And that's not to say that you go and you hire from your biggest rival to get some sort of insight. I mean, sometimes you're going to hire from your opponent. You're going to be able to learn some things, but it's limited as to what you have. I mean, you only have 10 counting coaches, and are you going to lock somebody up for one game? Now, I understand the game is the most important game, and there are quality coaches on both staffs, obviously, but I don't think that you make the move just for the hell of it. Now, as for was there a feeling of betrayal, if you will, for Alford going to the rival? Ryan Day was like, hey, everybody's got to work and make their own decisions with that. I don't think that Ohio State was going to throw him a going away party. I don't think Ohio State is necessarily going to be looking to have him on their Christmas card list at this point, for whatever that is worth. It reminds me during COVID, I think we did get Christmas cards, at least a Christmas email from Ryan Day and Nina, just for being able, working that difficult year and everything else, which was nice. But that's just me. But as for Alford, I don't think that they're going that. I don't think that there's a ton of it's all good. Now, when they will obviously meet on the field at the end of November, when Ohio State and Michigan play. But until then, there's not going to be a lot of overlap between these two, programs. They're not going to be facing each other on the field. So I don't know on that case. So those are kind of some of my thoughts there on that. Now, as for the search for a new coach, Ryan Day wants to have the running backs involved. He wants to have the running backs involved in the interview process. Now, they're not going to be the ones selecting. Ryan Day's like, that's going to be me and Chip Kelly making the ultimate decision. But with that being said, there's also going to be, input from the players, from Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins and Dallin Hayden and the young guys. And we do believe that interviews are ongoing at this point, that this was going to be the week things were really going to start as Ohio State gets back more into its normalcy of schedules and everything else. With Ryan Day taking over the position the way that he has, there's not going to be this huge rush to put somebody there, though, as I've said before. There's not going to be. This is not a case of, oh my God, we need to get somebody in to be able to finish out spring practice. It would be great if you had that coach in place, so he would have the 15 practices, or at this point, the 12 practices, because 3 are done as of the time we were recording this, 2 from prior to spring break, and then Tuesday practice, only 12 practices. So he could work with his players with in a football setting, as opposed to where they kind of go post spring practice and through the summer. But if we're speaking honestly, running back instruction from the running back coach, it's probably not as much. There are not as many volumes to that encyclopedia as there are at other positions. Quarterbacking takes a lot of knowledge and a lot of coaching and a lot of wisdom imparted. A running back, run to the light. You see a hole, you run to it. Now there's blocking and everything else. It's more than just, you just roll out there. I am not here to devalue the running back position. I'm not here to devalue what they do. I mean, it is a very physical position with a lot of effort and a lot of hard work that goes into it. But it certainly is not a case of where they're going to need to do stuff for the running back to where the coach has got to be there for every bit of install. So my feeling is that this is not going to be something we're going to see put into place until maybe around the spring game. Ohio State goes out into spring evaluation shortly after spring period is done. You have to have somebody in place by then. Not having all of your coaches out on the road, that is a detriment. Now, Ohio State obviously could move a guy into that 10th position in the interim, and I'm sure there are plenty of fine candidates that can do that. But I think you want to have, to kind of get back to some NFL chatter, you want to be able to buy the groceries. You want to be able to buy the groceries and go out and see these backs that you're going to be expected to recruit and to land. And if you come in and you miss that spring evaluation period, I mean, then we're really kind of getting into it. And I don't foresee that being the case. I don't think we're getting into mid-May and this isn't hired. I mean, that's a couple months away. But I don't think this is going to be something that's going to be done in 5 days or 7 days or 9 days. I don't think this is going to come together as quickly as Jake Diebler's hire did on the basketball side of things. I think this is going to take a couple of weeks. Ohio State is afforded the luxury of time here. And remember, unless they go to the NFL to hire somebody, which I don't believe is the move, all these other coaches are going through their own spring ball. Would there be some hesitancy to immediately jump? Well, Tony Alford jumped during spring practice. So, I mean, maybe somebody else jumps. Maybe somebody else, waits it out. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think there's less of a delay there, especially because we're not talking about a coordinator level position. But then again, if Ohio State wants to pay somebody, Tony Alford was going to make just shy of $800 this year. If you're looking to pay somebody $900, $1 million, I don't know. So a lot to think about there. Again, thank you for watching here on youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. This is the Big Me Kickoff. I am your host, Kevin Noon. It is Tuesday, March 19th. Ohio State's Pro Day is going to go on tomorrow, and we will be there at the Woody. Don't look for a ton of action per se. My understanding is that Marv is not working out. Now, that could be proven to be incorrect. We received our email from Ohio State about Pro Day, and Marv was mentioned. He was listed with the players. Marv also was listed with the players at the NFL Scouting Combine. Hell, we never got to talk to Marv. So I don't know necessarily what is going to come of that, but an interesting factoid, Will Howard and Devin Brown will be the quarterbacks throwing to Mayan Williams, Cade Stover. I heard Sam Wiggles is going to be back, Xavier Johnson. I think that's going to be the thing, because that is the most tangible thing that we get to see, is when quarterbacks and ball catchers are able to work out together. We don't get to go into the weight room. We don't see the 40. We don't see the vert. We don't see some of those things. We do get to see the long jump. That's out there. But and then when you have linebackers like Steele and Tommy, linebacker drills don't always jump off the film if you don't know what it is you're looking for in terms of the drill work. So, I'm going to be interested. I'm really interested in the post Pro Day interviews. Who do we get to talk to? How are things going? We did just get to talk to these guys in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago at the Combine, but it's a constantly moving process. And I promise not to ask any of them if they've heard from the Jets, which is kind of an inside media joke, but we'll see. Last thought, and I haven't really had a big opportunity to think on this one yet, but Clemson just filed suit in South Carolina against the Atlantic Coast Conference, now the second member institution to sue the conference over the grant of rights and media rights deal. And basically what I gathered, first of all, Florida State, because of sunshine laws, had to act very much in the daylight on this one. See what I did there? Whereas Clemson was able to move a little bit more quietly and then drop this bombshell today. The argument Clemson is making is that you shouldn't be able to claim the rights if a member is not part of the ACC, that this penalty has just continued to grow and grow and is nowhere nearly equal with what the financial harm of the conference would be, and that it just really is it's a disservice to Clemson looking out for its interests and being able to pursue the best opportunities possible. Now, what does this all mean in the grand scheme of things? It means that the ACC is going to have to fight fires on a couple of fronts. Does anybody else get on board? Now, Clemson did release a statement saying, but we have not announced our departure from the conference. We are still a member of the conference. Well, that's kind of having your cake and eating it too. I don't know if that's necessarily going to hold any water. You can't just sit there and say, oh, well, we're married, but I am actively out, trying out, new mates. That's not necessarily how it's gonna fly in this court of law. If you have your dalliances, that's whatever. You probably just want to keep that out of the papers. But I did not understand that part of the Clemson statement of, if Clemson would have said we notified the conference that we're withdrawing or whatever, does that put a poison pill in play, and does Clemson then run the risk of not getting its media distributions? Not an attorney. I don't know on that one. I'm not sure I even know anybody who does for sure, but we're going to see a lot more information on there. But this is a case of, we're doing a show here. I'm recording this a little after 2:30 on Tuesday. It's been talked about for a couple of hours, and I just didn't want to appear that I'm ignoring it. But we have a lot more on the Ryan Day press conference over at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up for BuckeyeHuddle.com. Get all the best coverage. Tom, Tony, and myself covering the team. Mark covering recruiting. Great community. Everything else. give us a try. This is the time to get on board. As spring practice ramps up, Southern Swing is not that far off. All of these things are coming in, and then before you know it, it's going to be the season. And this is going to be one hell of a season for the Buckeyes, in my opinion. So check us out at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Until next time, I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank our partners over at No Naturals as well. Take care, and I will talk to you all very soon.